Everyone knows what happened on Friday. Jesus died on the cross. And everyone knows what happened on Sunday. The tomb was empty, but almost nobody talks about Saturday. For one full day, Jesus' body was in the tomb. The disciples were hiding. Rome thought the story was over. The religious leaders thought the problem had been solved. But the Bible leaves us with a strange question. Where was Jesus during those 3 days? Because if you read the story carefully, the tomb explains where his body was. But it may not explain the whole mystery. And that missing space between the crucifixion and the resurrection has confused Christians for centuries. To understand why, we have to go back to the moment Jesus died. The crucifixion was not just painful. It was public, it was humiliating, it was meant to make a statement. Rome did not crucify people quietly. Crucifixion was designed to show everyone watching what happened to anyone who challenged Roman power. And to the people standing there that day, it looked final. Jesus had been arrested. His followers had scattered. He had been nailed to a cross. And then, according to the Gospels, he breathed his last. After that, his body was taken down and placed in a tomb. A stone was rolled in front of it. From the outside, that seems like the end of the story until Sunday morning. But then Jesus says something on the cross that makes the timeline harder to understand. In the Gospel of Luke, one of the criminals crucified beside Jesus asks to be remembered when Jesus comes into his kingdom. And Jesus responds by telling him that today he would be with him in paradise. Today, not eventually, not after the resurrection, today. That one word creates a mystery. If Jesus' body was about to be placed in the tomb, what did he mean by paradise? Some Christians understand paradise as the presence of God. Others connect it to the place of blessing for the righteous dead. Some see it as part of the ancient Jewish way of speaking about the unseen world after death. But whatever view someone takes, the statement does not sound like empty silence. Jesus does not speak as if death is a pause with nothing on the other side. He speaks as if something is about to happen that very day. And this is where modern readers can get confused, because ancient people often thought about death differently than we do. Today, we usually think of death mainly as a biological event. The body stops working. The heart stops. The brain stops. Life ends. But in the biblical world, death was often spoken of as a realm. In the Hebrew scriptures, there is a word called Sheol. It refers to the realm of the dead. Not exactly the cartoon version of hell people imagine today. Not red demons with pitchforks, not flames drawn in medieval paintings. Sheol was the place of the dead. The shadowy, unseen place beneath human life. In Greek, the word often used was Hades. Again, not necessarily the same thing people mean today when they say hell. It was a way of talking about death as a domain, a place, a condition, a world beyond what the living could see. And once you understand that, some of the strange phrases in the New Testament start to feel less random. For example, in Matthew, Jesus says that just as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish for 3 days and 3 nights, the Son of Man would be in the heart of the earth. That phrase has been interpreted in different ways. Some believe it refers simply to the tomb. Jesus would be buried in the earth. Others think it points deeper, to the realm of the dead itself. Others see it as symbolic language for entering fully into death. The Bible does not give us a travel itinerary. It gives us fragments. And when those fragments are placed together, the 3 days begin to look stranger than most people realize. Because then we get to one of the most debated passages in the entire New Testament. In 1 Peter, Jesus is described as being put to death in the flesh, made alive in the spirit, and proclaiming to the spirits in prison. Spirits in prison. That phrase has confused readers for almost 2,000 years. Who were these spirits? Where was this prison? What exactly was Jesus proclaiming? Some Christians believe this means Jesus announced victory to imprisoned spiritual beings. Others connect it to the dead who lived before the resurrection. Others think Peter is referring to a mysterious event connected to the days of Noah, because the passage mentions that time directly. Some see the passage as symbolic. Others see it as describing something that happened in the unseen realm during the time between Jesus' death and resurrection. And here is the important part. Christians do not all agree on the exact details. A careful reading has to admit that. The passage is difficult, but the point is not that the passage is simple. The point is that the New Testament does not treat the death of Jesus as meaningless emptiness. There is death, there is the tomb, but there is also paradise. There is the heart of the earth, there are spirits in prison, there is proclamation. The story seems quiet from the outside. But beneath the silence, Scripture gives us hints of movement. This is where later Christian tradition used a phrase that many people have heard but few understand. He descended to the dead. In some versions of the Apostles' Creed, the phrase is translated, he descended into hell. But that wording can be misleading today. Because when modern people hear hell, they often imagine the final place of punishment. But in older Christian language, the phrase often referred more broadly to the realm of the dead. The point was not that Jesus became defeated by hell. The point was that Jesus entered death completely. He did not merely approach it. He did not merely appear to die. He passed all the way into the human condition, even death itself. That is why some Christians connect this idea to another passage in Ephesians, where Paul speaks of Christ descending to the lower regions and then ascending far above all things. Again, interpretations differ. Some understand that descent as the incarnation, Christ coming down to earth. Others understand it as a descent into the realm of the dead. But across many Christian traditions, the larger idea remains powerful. Jesus did not defeat death by avoiding it. He defeated death by entering it. And that changes how the 3 days feel, because most people imagine the time between the cross and the resurrection as waiting. Friday is tragedy. Saturday is silence. Sunday is victory. But the deeper Christian claim is that Saturday may not have been empty at all. It may have been part of the victory itself, not a pause, a descent. But we have to be careful here. The Bible does not tell us every step. It does not say exactly what Jesus saw. It does not give a map of the unseen world. It does not answer every question about paradise, Hades, Sheol, or the spirits in prison. And when people pretend the details are simple, they usually go beyond what the text actually says. So what can we say? We can say Jesus truly died. His death was not symbolic. We can say his body was placed in the tomb. We can say he rose on the third day. We can say he told the thief that he would be with him in paradise. We can say the New Testament uses strange language about death, descent, proclamation, and the unseen realm. And we can say Christians have wrestled with those clues for centuries. What we cannot say is that every detail is perfectly clear. The honest answer is not that we know every step. The honest answer is that the Bible gives us enough to know the story was not paused. Before we continue, if you're interested in the Bible's strangest unanswered questions, consider subscribing. Some of the most important parts of Scripture are the parts people skip over. And Saturday is one of those parts. Because emotionally, Saturday may be the most human part of the whole resurrection story. Friday had horror, Sunday had glory, but Saturday had waiting. The disciples did not know what was coming. They did not wake up Saturday morning with Easter sermons prepared. They were afraid. The man they followed had been executed. The movement they believed in looked finished. The tomb was sealed. The body was still. The world had moved on. To everyone watching, nothing was happening. And maybe that is why this mystery still matters. Because the most difficult part of faith is often not the moment of suffering. And it is not the moment of victory. It is the space in between. The silence. The day when nothing seems to change. The day when the stone is still in front of the tomb. But according to the oldest Christian hope, the silence of that Saturday was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence before reversal. The body of Jesus was in the grave, but the meaning of his death was already moving deeper than anyone could see. Death was being entered. The realm of the dead was being confronted. The story that looked finished was still unfolding beneath the surface. That is why the 3 days matter. They are not just a countdown to resurrection. They are part of the mystery of what resurrection means. Jesus did not simply return from death. He passed through it. And if that is true, then Saturday was not wasted time. It was the hidden middle of the story. The place where apparent defeat and unseen victory overlapped. Friday looked like the end. Sunday revealed the beginning. But Saturday remains the mystery. The tomb was sealed from the outside. The disciples saw nothing. The world heard silence. But maybe the strangest part of the resurrection story is not only that Jesus rose on Sunday. It is that on Saturday, when it looked like nothing was happening, the victory may have already begun. Thank you for watching Scripture Secrets. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more amazing biblical content.